that this is what is to be expected if you're Muslim. So there's many of them who would not even have thought that this is bullying. They would have thought this is to be expected as being a Muslim in America.
There was a study that came out from Rice University in 2018 that said researchers have found in the Houston area over the last 10 years that residents are increasingly more positive, have better attitudes towards Muslims. Do you guys experience that? Would you say that's the case?
Houston's been remarkably well, I think, compared to some other cities. And I know we sometimes pick on the South, especially in the North. You'll hear a lot of stuff about the South. But Houston's been pretty cosmopolitan. When I moved here initially from Canada, I was surprised by how cosmopolitan it was. And so I would maybe, because I live here, maybe I'd like to give it a plus point that I think has been better than most of the other cities. However, there are still challenges there, and I just don't want us to get too complacent. The fact that I think you can just go around, especially around this area, around Hillcroft, you see how many different restaurants they have, and there are a lot of positive interactions.
Following shootings like this, regardless of the communities across the globe, we have seen people rejoice to show strength, but others have shown concerns. This said, because this is such a prevalent day for prayer within the community, do you anticipate that services might not see the amount of people they normally see on a Friday?
I would be surprised. I think most people would still come out to pray. Just the folks in our community, especially because they're coming from places that have had strife. For example, in Pakistan, it's not uncommon for there to be an attack in the city itself. And as a way of defiance, many people come to pray because they want to show that this is not going to affect our day-to-day lives. So I would suspect that most people would come to prayer. I'm sure there will also be more police involved as well this time. So.
Maybe I got here a little bit late, but
sure.
You mentioned some of the attacks and the threats and incidents. Just psychologically, what's been the impact on the local community here?
I think it's not seen as an isolated incident. It's seen as a stream of incidents. So the question was, has there been any mass shootings here or any attacks like this? And even though thankfully I can't think of actual deaths or casualties, there have been a lot of attacks. There have been shootings at mosques that I've seen myself. There's been a lot of them. Victoria was burned down, if you remember that picture with the mosque on fire. The person at the mosque used to take care of it. He called me crying. So it's something that our community is seeing, and I think many people, being a religious community, at times they'll just kind of hang low and just pray for better times. But I think the rhetoric, ratcheting up. I mentioned the thing about patrolling Muslim neighborhoods in Houston. Which neighborhood, when, based on what data. Of course, that was probably just a political stunt.
But this is also why we need to keep our elected officials accountable. Their rhetoric matters. What they say, we see. It can be catalysts for something minor, like a little trolling meme, or it could be the catalyst for this brutal attack. 49 dead. These are families that have been affected. It's not going to go away in a day. They're going to be dealing with this forever. And it starts with our words. Our elected officials need to take responsibility. They need to be held accountable for what they say. It doesn't matter what biases they have. At the end of the day, they are representatives.
And of course, I guess, because we're dealing with the media today, it's also the job of the media to point out these things and expose these stories and expose what they said is true and what's not true and stick with it. So that's another part of it. And social media itself has created this whole other realm that we're getting used to, where there are news stories that are just fabricated. So we're dealing with a lot of this. And his manifesto, I've heard it's long. I've heard it's 70 pages or something. I haven't gone through it. But I think he does reference American politics, European politics.
We've been contacted by our partners. They want to hold a vigil on Sunday at 7 p.m. on Westheimer and Post Oak. So we do encourage you to come out there as well to show that Muslims stand in solidarity across the globe.
You say your partners. Which partners are you talking about?
We have Muslim students that have reached out from universities and other minority Muslim community centers.
How concerned are you that because of the rhetoric that you probably have heard in the last couple of years, coming out of Washington mainly, it will impact or have consequences continue here in the land?
The impact that we've seen, in particular in Houston, has actually been positive. You've seen Muslims stand up. You've seen Muslims stand up for elected positions. You've seen them get more involved. So I am very proud of our community for that. My concern goes out to the students who are young and influential right now. We want to combat fear. We already have parents who are moving and who are concerned, and there's only so much we can do. But so far as our children go, we know that we can raise them to be brave. We know that we can raise them to understand that what their rights are. So far as the concern goes, it's there, but we're more action-oriented.
But clearly you can see this is not, it's true it's hateful, but you can see he has a rational framework for why he's doing this. He's written about it. He has, if you look at the gun, I think he has a lot of signs on it. And a lot of that is driven by what he's hearing by politicians.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he does quote American politics, especially. And I don't have the exact quote, or else I'd read it out. But so that's something I think the manifesto shows you. This is something planned and is based on different ideas he's seeing. So the travel ban's one. I think some people said, okay, we just want to keep out bad people. But many of the countries on the travel ban haven't had people who've done anything. So it just caused a dehumanization of different parts of our society. And that's why we're saying it's not just a Muslim issue. This is one incident. But if you look at different anti-immigration kind of steps that this government is taking, right? When we heard about children in cages, if you would have told me that 3 years ago, I would not have ever believed that anything like that happened, even if it's not 100% true, even that the idea would have ever taken place. And so the rhetoric is driving these things. There are concerns now in the future of what more can happen. I thank God that there's been no massive massacres in Houston. I think I read in the Chronicle when I moved here that there was a man who was planning something like this, and he was stopped by the FBI. He had written about he needed a partner to help him carry out a massacre in Houston, and he said that he wanted someone who would not be afraid to see the body parts of women and children flying through the air. So we missed that happening because he was luckily caught by the FBI. But I'm sure, my fear is that there's someone else waiting somewhere who's also planning their manifesto before they launch something like this. So that fear is always there, but yet still life has to go on, so we still want to go pray and, try to act as normal as possible. And we're concerned, though, that it will subside to the point that we don't think of these greater issues.
Touched on it a little bit, but how do you combat that fear within the local Muslim community?
I think it's, so in a strange way, so much has happened over the years, like with different mosque attacks, that it's starting, people are almost losing fear in a negative way, that this is almost like a normal, part of being Muslim in America, to hear this kind of rhetoric and see some mosque shootings. So combating fear for us will be more talking about these issues and exposing people that, look, most people do not agree with actions like this, or, and there are like different coalition partners that are willing to support you. So I think the fear can easily be combated by making sure that we all come together and making sure that some people have a place to express their opinions and talk about what their exact concerns are. Because right now on my feed, someone shared, we don't need guns in our mosque then. Like, it's not like we want security. And some people are saying, look, why don't we have more security in the mosque? What does it matter if there's someone with a gun standing outside a mosque, if it's a policeman or a security officer? So I think the debate is good sometimes to talk about these issues.
Is there a consensus on what kind of security measures you'd like to see in the mosque, or is it still up kind of?
No, you know what I think they say? I think if there's 10 Muslims in a room, there'll be 11 opinions. So I'm sure there's a lot of different opinions. We're a very diverse community. There's people from different socioeconomic levels, different races. There's different schools of thoughts. So it's an extremely diverse community. So of course you're not going to have any kind of agreement, but I think starting the conversation will build some sort of consensus.
Any other questions? Do you have any questions for Ambreen Hernandez? After, all right. In that case, we do appreciate you all coming out to our press conference and, again, helping us publicize the fact that there is solidarity in this community, that we will not lose hope and we will not give in to fear. I thank you for taking concern over this issue, and we will continue to combat it in our office and out on the streets. We hope that you will come to the vigil on Sunday at 7 p.m. because that will truly be Muslims standing in solidarity globally and with their partners to show that we are unshakable.
Thank you. We'll do it from here, if that's okay.
We're gonna be live.
What's up?
I'm gonna take this room from Elijah, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna be live too, so.
But after,
No, we're at 11.
11, right?
Yeah, like in 5 minutes.
yeah, we have to.
Huh?
We brought a light.